Good morning. It's Sunday again. How are y'all doing? My name is Deborah Mills. I am a top psychic worldwide known. I'm #2 on an international site, and I'm owner of Moonzies.com, fast becoming the #1. This week alone, we got 996 likes on our page for Moonzies, which is going up every week. So great. So strong. You know, we're here to teach you about your spirituality because the spiritual balance is what we all need, because if we don't, if we're not, our root core is not balanced, then everything else gets the ripple effect of what's going on in our inner spirit. If we're angry, anger breeds anger. If we're sad, people around us are going to feel sad and not even know why. This week, we're talking about this series right now that I'm holding, because spring is coming up and it's time to start growing our gardens, getting our greenhouses going, all natural, organic, no chemicals for everything. So we're doing our study on herbs right now. Moonzies has a greenhouse, Grammy's greenhouse. It has all sorts of herbs, plants, vegetable seedlings, things that you need that we do know how to ship out. And we have the dried versions of the herbs that you can drink your teas and do things that are going to help you. You know, we're not doctors. We want to make sure that you go in compliance with your doctor, and yet we can tell you the natural way of doing things. Today we're going to talk about Vervain. Vervain is one of my favorite herbs, and it's surprisingly enough, many people have never heard of Vervain, and yet it's one of the most common plants you see along roadsides, along woods paths, and in gardens. I want to start out with a little bit of history. Many centuries ago, long before the Zealots, the Reformers, the early Christians came, Northern Europe was ruled by a tribe called the Celtic Druids. They had wizards and magic, and they had the wise people who did the old craft, that where we used our herbs and we used the natural elements of the universe, earth, fire, wind, and sea, to give healing, to draw the things we need, such as money, protection, and other things. There were many tribes up and down Europe, along with the Romanian gypsies and some other tribes, the Israelites and the Hebrews and the Sumerians, and very many tribes, and they interacted with each other, surprisingly enough. And as many things happen in religious wars, the Druids, like the Native Americans in this country, their tribe was nearly totally destroyed. A very sad state of affairs. And yet some hid out in the woods, and some lived on to pass on their natural ways of healing and of providing for ourselves. Vervain was one of their most sacred sacred herbs. Sorry, not drugs, herbs. And it is not a drug. It does not, and that's what I was trying, where my mind was moving faster than my mouth, which is typical of me. It's not a psychotic. It's not a psychedelic. It doesn't do anything if you drink it other than cure your headache. But this is what it looks like. This is from my own little rock bed that I have out near my mailbox. But this plant, surprisingly enough, you'll see it along the roads, along like the interstates and the highways, and it just grows naturally. It has a little purple flower, which is not the season for it to be blooming in, but this is what it looks like, and it grows to be a big tall bush. Then, of course, we've taken the leaves and the flowers, and we've dried them, and I don't know if you can see them, but I use this in almost every candle that I make. I want to tell you a little story about this before we go into the clinical things about Vervain. One of my clients was having trouble with his neighbor. The neighbor was literally going to build a fence along the boundary, and their land was so beautiful. It was set on the woods, and it's set on the lake, and he was like, I really don't want that fence. But the neighbor was just really not a happy camper. And I told him, I sent him some Vervain, and mind you, this man was a Christian, had a little bit of doubts about using the natural herb, but went ahead and put Vervain along the line of the boundary between he and his neighbor. The next day he sent me a picture. There where he had put the Vervain, 5 deer were not standing, were not running, were not eating, but were lying down just at peace and gentle and calm there at the spot where the Vervain was. Now perhaps I'm understanding that Vervain in your garden will help keep the deer from eating your garden. So this is extremely, even more miraculous. And yet, you know that he and that neighbor made amends, and as to this day, there's not a fence there. I think that's an awesome, awesome story of how Vervain works. I've got a couple others. If you want to hear these stories, then just shoot me an email, and I'll write you some out. Now, you know, I always use Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. And this is a good book. It's a good reference book if you need to have it in your reference library. It's a good one to have, you know, because it has almost everything. Now, Vervain, its clinical name is called Vervaina officinalis, and it is also called the enchanter's plant, herb of enchantment, herb of grace, which tells you why the deers did what they did, herb of the cross, holy herb, Vervaina. Now, its gender is feminine. Its planet is Venus, which is why I'm sure I'm most often drawn to it, because she is my favorite goddess. And the element is earth. The deities are Cadwin, Mars, Venus, Isis, Thor, and Juno, and Jupiter. Its powers are love, protection, purification, money, youth, chastity, sleep, and healing. Now, again, it is not a drug. It is not anything that's going to alter your mind. But if you drink Vervain, it's kind of like lavender, it's kind of like chamomile. It will help you relax and go to sleep at night a lot easier. Now, it's gathered in midsummer, and it is used to protect the magician when he's breaking dark spirits, which is what most of us use it for many, many times. You know, if someone you know has taken something from you, Vervain is good to get it back. If you put it in a baby's cradle, it's said to give a baby a happy disposition. I think that's awesome. I wouldn't put it where the baby could put it in its mouth. It won't hurt the baby, but I'm sure it doesn't taste too good, and we don't want our babies getting things that don't taste good. You know, this morning, this song, That's Life, kept coming through my head. And I found it very interesting that that's life. And so let's have a good life this week. Good to talk to you. Happy day. Bye.